One of the biggest compliments I receive is you're the same person off the stage as you are on the stage. And while you as a leader may not be on a stage, literally, like I am, the best, most effective, and most joyful leaders are consistent across their life from work and home and everywhere in between. And that is a character that produces joy. If you are new here, welcome to the Joyosity podcast. I'm so glad you found your way to this corner of leadership and life where joy is an extra. It's your success path and your resilience. I'm Jen Whitmer, international speaker, leadership consultant, author, and all around joy bringer. And we are jumping back in with our series around my book called Joyosity: How to Cultivate Intense Happiness in Work and Life, Even if Things Are What They Are. That lesson of that second subtitle just keeps happening. The book is out now, and you can find all the links to all the places to get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, as well as the companion workbook at jenwhitmer.com/books. And around here in the Joyosity community, we do not settle for toxic teams, overwhelmed leaders, or the exhaustion of it's all just too much. So each episode, I'm bringing you stories and research and tools you can use right away to create a thriving workplace and really also all of your life, starting with yourself. One of the big myths in leadership and career is that it's something you do on your own. It's something you do alone, or you're competing against other people, and your home life is totally separate and shouldn't impact your work. And it's no wonder that we have a problem with joy. We're trying to live in this myth that you have these separate lives, and it is destroying us. If you want to cultivate joy and be an effective leader, you have to develop healthy relationships inside and outside of work. And so, in the last few episodes, I've answered your questions about the content of the book, about the content of Joyosity, the behind the scenes of writing a book, including interviewing my college friends. So, in a stroke of genius or maybe insanity, not sure which, I decided to do a podcast episode with my family, and they graciously agreed. So if you've read Joyosity, or if you've listened to me for a while, you already know that I have wildly different personalities living in my house. And in this episode, they're on display. My husband, Michael, is a vice president at a values marketing consulting agency. My oldest son, Chase, recently graduated with his undergraduate degree in poli-sci and economics and is waiting on law school acceptance and financial aid letters. Stuart is a senior exercise science and education major. Sabrina is a sophomore psychology major with a drama minor, and Annalise is a sophomore in high school. This conversation we recorded over Thanksgiving is wide-ranging and revealing. Most people like a bit of peeling back of the curtain of the speaker author life, and you'll definitely hear that. But what I hope you listen for are the ways that your community matters, including your family, in the way you cultivate joy, and that what happens in one area of your life impacts others, and that joy matters in your everyday life. So these precious people, they have sacrificed a lot for me to deliver Joyosity to you. I'm so grateful to them and grateful to share a bit of the Whitmer Cavalcade with you. Little note. We had some technical difficulties. So if you are watching the video, you'll notice a few times where it goes a little fuzzy and then comes back. Technical difficulties with the setup and the camera and the things in our living room, but the sound quality is there for you if you're just listening to the podcast. So no worries. And here are the Whitmers. Thank you so much for doing this. Actually, I'm really excited about it. So if you all would just introduce yourselves, we'll start with you.
Okay, I'm Sabrina.
I'm Michael.
I'm Annalise.
I'm Chase. I am Stuart.
Great. I'm so excited. Okay, so when did you figure out that there was a difference between I'm writing a book, your mom's writing a book, and oh, this is kind of intense. This is different than the way we've been operating in the past.
I think for me there wasn't so much of a moment particularly as much as there was a clear sort of gradual trend. towards near the end of the book when it was kind of getting tighter on deadlines, and it was like, oh yeah, she's just working, I assume. And 9 times out of 10, yeah, in your office, yeah, with
Yeah.
the door shut.
That's where I was. Yeah.
I think when there was an uptick of gummy bears consumption,
Yes.
and mugs disappearing from in the cabinet, and the tray that you would bring down would occasionally acquire more dishes. But I was like, oh, okay, it's probably getting intense 'cause it's the amount of stuff. Like, we would see you less, but you would bring down more, and I was like, I'm glad I got there, but okay.
In my multi-beverage uptick.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely noticed there was a lot of procrastibaking. There was a lot of abuse happening.
Yeah.
And when it was like really deadline time, it was like
Yeah. Yeah. Procrastibaking indeed. Not so much procrastinating. I didn't go for that.
No.
No. What if you were going to describe the book process for the last year and a half, really? Because I started, April, May, mapping it out last year, which was not as intense. But what would you describe this process if you described it in a word? I hate those kind of questions, so I will allow a couple words.
Say steam locomotive before anybody else does. I feel like the train metaphor is cliche, but apt here, in that it, started off as like kind of being bandied around, being like coalesced a little bit from, a lot of keynotes and other work that you've already done, into like, hey, there is a coherent book here, to like, hey, there's actually a concrete proposal, to hey, there's real, words on the page, to hey, we need a lot more words on the page like now.
And then we need far fewer words.
And then we need to cut like half of them. But yeah, so
All right. I like the steam engine. I'm gonna take the little engine that could out of that. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. Other 1 to 3 word phrases.
Intense.
Okay.
It's been an intense time where you've been focused and like kind of um, these shots of intenseness. Like, okay, I'm gonna work for a while and then move on to the next section or whatever. But yeah, some intensity.
Yeah.
I would say long. Like this has been a long process
Mm-hmm.
that had started really since like uh when you graduated again and you got your other degree
Mm-hmm.
and moved out of education and into speaking, and then you were like, all right, well, now we're gonna do this speaking gig for a while, and then you decided that this is the next step in your speaking gig, and that was something that you decided long ago, and so now it's been a 2-year process, before that 4-year process to get to this moment where you're now releasing a book,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to be quite amazing. So I would describe the process as long.
Yeah.
And
I like that actually, because it's not something, once I started actually writing, when Chase was talking about like a proposal coalesced and we were writing, that part was not hard. I think because I've been doing the process before. I've been in front of audiences, I've been in front of hundreds of people saying these things. And so the ideas were there before I like started to open a doc and write. So yeah, it's been long.
I definitely remember us being on the phone with the publisher and talking about the potential launch date
Mm-hmm.
and looking at the calendar and being like, whoa, that is like around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So for as long as you've had the information, there was this moment where it was like, okay, now it's go time.
Right.
And got to do this, and you have to buckle down in order to get it to meet this deadline that was there. And it was just really interesting the like, because it has been so long, it's been all in the process of like life, and then now it's got to really happen.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that was exciting about my publisher is that they actually moved quickly for a publishing process, because the other publishers that were interested, this would have been published in probably August of 26, versus the original like hopeful launch date was October of 25, and now it's December 9th. But that's even fast. It's really fast for publishing, which I appreciated. And so I feel like I really want to hear your one word. Mostly because you are the one that's here all the time. Because you have watched it from a different perspective than everybody else, you and your dad.
I guess like concrete, like putting everything into words, as you guys have said. I felt like a lot of crunch time. Like like the whole thing was like crunch time. Like we gotta get everything together. Or not we, you have to like write everything down and then edit. I don't know.
Cheers.
What is the funniest or most memorable thing that has happened in this book writing process?
I think it was when you went to visit Stuart in New Zealand, and you were like, "No, I'm going to visit Stuart. I'm going to write my book." You were going to New Zealand. Like it was like I think it was just like you, and I think like obviously yes, it helped you go be in a different place and literally across the world, and it helped you get new perspectives and things like that. But I think, not necessarily using your book as an excuse to go fun places, but sometimes using your book as an excuse to go fun places.
Why is this?
It's not a bad thing. It was just it was funny that it was like, no, I'm going for my book. Okay.
Well, there is I think I had to cut the story now that I'm thinking about it. When Stuart and I were walking the Farewell Spit, I definitely tell it in the keynote. I tell it in the keynote, but so I got.
I'm not saying it's bad. I just
think something that was bad was one time, I can't remember whose house it was, but you went to somebody's house and like you wanted like cookies or something near the end of the writing period, and then all they had was like a very very winter stocked pantry with some expired, like was it the brown sugar was off or something, and the cookies were truly horrible, and there were like 40 of them, so it was like great.
They were.
I'm gonna eat so many cookies tonight. No,
they were horrid.
and I don't say that about cookies.
Oh yeah, that was procrastibaking gone wrong. I tried to salvage that.
That was a casualty.
Right. They didn't have vanilla either, and so it was coconut.
What?
Belongs in all joy.
Yeah, maybe. It was trauma.
Yeah, it was.
The procrastibaking was pretty hilarious because you didn't, you wouldn't admit it first.
Yeah, that phase was.
That's funny. I'm
in
surprised.
denial for like a good like 2 weeks,
And
maybe a
then
month, maybe.
There was like 1 or 2 weeks where we saw a lot of batches of cookies.
Yeah.
Maybe had brownies and that. Like it was.
I think you would send some of the most random texts that were lines that you were writing.
Oh,
and you were like, "What do you think about this one as a, as a 2 or something like that, as an Enneagram 2? What do you think about this line?" But you would have just sent the line first, and then so sometimes there was just
totally random text.
random texts with ideas or thoughts and that kind of stuff.
I think my favorite is when I would read things to you and you're like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, but that's the way it's supposed to be. That was my favorite. I don't like that.
Or when you read the part about how people visualize their day.
Oh my
And
gosh.
you were like,
Okay, well, I have to tell the story.
okay.
So we're at Sarah's.
Yeah.
And I'm writing in Nashville. Sabrina's in school in Nashville. And I was writing a section of the book about how you structure your day in the experience section. And I call it being a manager, a maker, or a musician. And so I'm reading this section to Sabrina, who is an Enneagram 6. And as an Enneagram 6, and I'm reading it talking about how people structure their days. And you order your day based on the clock and usually in half-hour increments, and you just kind of move from task to task to task. And as I'm reading, this is what Sabrina's doing, nodding her head for those of you who are on the podcast. She's nodding her head, and the next line is, and if you're nodding along thinking, isn't this the way the world works? You might be a manager. And indeed,
Is that not how people structure their lives? I'm confused.
That's how high school used to be.
don't understand.
Right. Yeah, that's not how I structure my life.
Oh, it's hard for you.
No, it's not actually. Now that I figured that out, it's not hard. Yeah, that was pretty funny. I laughed a lot when you did that. What is the weirdest or most unusual household rule or rhythm that changed or emerged while I was writing?
I think that you being sequestered and like completely away for such large blocks of time. When you were here and locked in your office, that was probably like the oddest thing. When you would leave and go someplace and work something else, then it was just like you were traveling. But when you were here and you're locked in your office, and it was like we didn't hear from you, it felt like for days. Yeah, because you were in that zone, where it's just so untypical because we see you all the time.
Yeah. Other.
I mean, I think as a part of that, especially like dinners, like you still join us for dinner, but especially often it'll be like, yeah, we're ready to eat. Okay, I'll be down in just a minute, and sit there and maybe pick it a little bit, and
Right.
then maybe eat a little bit more, and then maybe have the dinner, and then 10 minutes after that, she'll come down.
I think there were two reasons why that was hard. One is I would have my phone on do not disturb, so I wouldn't always get text messages when you would send the text and say dinner's ready. That is a neutral. My own fault is my inability to go, okay, just one more sentence or one more one more thing.
I mean, the flow is good, and I can't diving into it. But.
Yeah. I definitely think because we are used to, we all sit and eat together. Not necessarily like when y'all were little, it was at 6 o'clock we all sit and eat together. And now it's sometimes 8:30, 9. Like it depends, but we're all going to sit with a quorum of the people who are here and we're all going to sit and eat together. And I think that was the strangest. Who's going to cook? We don't know. You've taken up you two mostly have taken up the cooking slack. Chase, when you came back from school, did as well.
Did a little bit.
But because I used to be the one that cooked and did the grocery shopping, and I have not for like 2 years now. Thank you. I think that was probably the thing that I noticed the most. That was an odd change in the way we operate.
Mhm.
What changed that you didn't expect about the way that we work together, or when you all come home from school, or what changed?
I don't know that I didn't anticipate the changes as much as I didn't really internalize what the reality of those changes would mean about sort of what you being sequestered would mean within the family, about just like, hey, you're off all the time and dad's often working downstairs. I've got my own thing going on. Annalise has her own thing going on, and we'll see each other every so often, but it did at times feel like roommates, for sure.
Which is different than the way we've operated in the past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely coming home from college and then being like, I don't see anybody, has been quite the unexpected family dynamic change. I think for me, because I'm coming from a place where it is roommates and is dorm life, being an RA. And so it's like, all right, well, I've got to break out of that and I'll go back home to this place where I know
We're usually doing
this, where maybe you're downstairs and you're cooking dinner and dad's in his office usually, but then he'll come upstairs for dinner and then we usually have this dinner time, and now that's changed because you're up in your room and doing that. I know dad's the one cooking and grilling usually. Like the grilling.
Like the grilling.
Love that. But that change was something I did not expect with the writing of the book.
Yeah.
It felt very normal. And maybe that's just I'm just kind of unaware and a little removed.
You're not wearing your shirt. I can't dance.
Right. That's also the thing is I'm just not. That's you being gone you being kind of sequestered all the time. I did not experience it a lot because I also was sequestered all the time doing my own thing. So coming home from college and I would be like, "Hi, love you, Aqua," and then go run and do 1,000 things. So I think that was it. It felt. There were some times when I noticed I was like, "Oh, I've been home for a week and I haven't seen mom in 2 days. Is she alive?" Okay. Or when I'd be on the phone with dad and he'd be like, "Oh, it's crunch time. I haven't seen your mom in a couple days." But I think that it was not necessarily normal, but I think just it was kind of like I wasn't surprised. I was like, this is how you work. You're gonna get it done and do the thing that you had to do, even though it's not fun and it's hard. So I think it was just like, yeah, this is new normal and that's
I think the thing that I didn't expect and I didn't like was that I couldn't accurately predict how much time something would take. I'm usually pretty good about, I think it's going to take about this amount of time. Some of that is the creative process is it doesn't end until there's a deadline because you can always tweak and like, oh, do I like this word and this word and oh, I could, and or I could go down a research rabbit hole and find so many research articles about something. And I was fascinated by what's in the article. And I didn't anticipate my own curiosity having to be tamed in order to get a deadline finished, which then sometimes I was working when I didn't want to be working because I anticipated this amount of time that I used, but I don't know that I always used it the best. And so it meant I was working more, like when we came to see you over the summer and I had to stay at the hotel in the morning to finish some things, and you and Annalise basically moved you in. Thank you.
It was Annalise.
Organizing all the
I
things.
sat there overstimulated.
So I think that's the part that I didn't expect.
I feel like I also didn't think it was like that much change. Like it was kind of like Dad said earlier, like instead of you being like, we're not seeing you because you're like away, like traveling or whatever, it's just like you're here and upstairs, but locked away.
Locked away. What do you think people would be surprised to know about what goes into the work that I do, either keynotes, writing, developing social media content, thought leadership content? What do you think would surprise people about that?
I would say that it's really surprising the how much time and effort you put into organizing it, the content that you deliver. Because when you deliver it, it just kind of seems natural. Like, well, this is how you should learn this. But it's very thoughtful about your kind of that step by step by step in working in any of the things that you kind of talk about. But that in the early stages of that is so much nebulous, and you are defining things and then ordering and reordering and deciding what is going to be a flow. So I think it's kind of surprising that it takes a lot of time and effort to figure out the order in which you share the information.
Yeah.
A lot of times people just assume that it just pours out of you, and it does, but it just like
it pours out in a pile of post-it notes for you.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
I think another thing that's maybe not surprising to all of us who know you, but to people who are maybe not as familiar and who haven't seen the amount of work that you've put in is the way that your background as a teacher sort of influences everything, and I think that definitely helps with the ordering of information and just the general presentation in ways that you're able to get your message across.
I definitely still feel like an educator at heart. I can't like not ask how are you going to apply this, not like give you homework, but I can't not like just let you, I don't know, I don't have great words for that, like it's just who I am.
I think circling back to the beginning, the amount of Schnucks gummy bears that you go to a keynote and look, Nerds gummy clusters as well. I think those two. It's peanut butter M&Ms, peanut M&Ms.
Well, the March mix,
The
which
March,
is
right,
peanut
right.
and peanut butter.
Yes.
Together.
But I think those four.
I
Rather a lot.
blame my friend Kristen Perona because
well, we get the leftovers.
we discovered in a research rabbit hole is that when your brain is creating, it uses more carbohydrates, so it needs more straight sugar. That's what we took from that research study, which is why gummy bears. That's why. That's why. Yeah. What is the funniest, most chaotic, I mean, maybe mildly unhinged thing that you see me do around travel and events, or when I'm preparing for an event or getting ready to go somewhere?
Well, recently it has been the vocal exercises, which you've always done, but like as you've done some vocal therapy and some of the vocals of the random noises that are happening as you're whatever it is.
Yeah, I used to do this in the car, so
Yeah.
that didn't happen as much here.
And your little nebulizer thing that
Yes.
you have to breathe.
Yeah. I just like to pretend I'm a Broadway star,
Yeah.
and so that's how I get to do
Yeah.
Mister.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the the fashion shows that me and Dad have seen a lot of.
Oh, we have seen a lot of fashion shows.
Well, you have a lot of opinions, and they're good opinions.
I have a lot of input.
That's true on the
It's not helpful. It's usually not helpful.
No, it's not as helpful as anybody's. I will say.
And also the bag staying packed on many occasions, I think are funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did make a commitment, or commitment is probably the right word, this year to unpack the day I came home. So I didn't go to bed with with a packed suitcase, but then that turned into I have a set of packed things that don't leave the suitcase. They just get packed in the suitcase and the suitcase put away, which has been a travel lifesaver.
You're right, Emily. It has been funny, the number of fashion shows and the number of, well, what are you going to be doing? Are you going to be doing this? How high is the stage? How is the, will it be cold? Are you going to walk very far?
What's the floor like?
That went into all those choices. You naming your luggage.
Oh, I love Charlie Parton and Backstage Bets.
Unnecessary. Unnecessary.
Necessary. Bitsy Baggins is necessary.
Sure.
Okay.
It's not like they have like tags with names that other people would refer to them by.
Right.
Just she knows them.
Yeah. Do they talk to you?
No.
Okay.
That's the book. If someone asked you what it was like to have a mom or a wife who is a keynote speaker and an author, what would you say?
It's so hard to be this close to somebody who's famous.
Gosh, you're not sure.
So hard to be an influencer right now.
So hard.
Hard to be an influencer right now.
I think there's a lot of hearing the same stories over and over again.
I think you of all people hear the same story,
Yeah.
since your room is on the other side of the hall of my office.
Yeah.
You could probably give the Chicago story just flat out.
Line for line.
Mhm.
That is one of the hardest parts about being a keynote speaker too, which is similar to being a stage performer. And when you're a teacher having to give the same lesson multiple times, it's the same. Like, I have to be able to make sure that the story matches the audience who's there, but have a story that is crafted so it has a point, but also still feels fresh to that audience. Which I imagine a comic has the similar. I'm not as funny as a comic. I strive to be, but I'm not. I'm not as funny as she is.
Maybe someday you'll get syndicated.
Maybe SNL's in my future. Are you listening?
I do think having moments where we are suddenly like, or I'm having a conversation and all of a sudden like, oh, you might be someone who would be really interested in meeting my mom, or something where it's all of a sudden is like, oh, all of a sudden there is a real intersection between your speaking, your lessons, and what you present, and the needs of a certain person I'm talking to, where it becomes like a moment where you can kind of ferry that connection is always a little bit interesting.
You probably wouldn't have done that when I was a music teacher.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also being very hard to explain why exactly this is a connection, like what she is.
Or what she does to her father.
Oh, bless my dad.
He does get it. He does get it.
Maybe.
There's a book. It's really like it's
The book
really
helps.
nice.
People get what being an author is more than
Yeah.
they get what being a keynote speaker is. Having a book does help that.
I think it would be surprising to a lot of people that is not hard for you speaking,
Oh,
because it kind of freaks so many people out to be on stage. That doesn't bother you at all. You haven't met a microphone that you don't like.
not one time.
And
Unless it's not working.
right, yeah. But the other side of being a solopreneur, being somebody who is running a business that is part of this, is that there's all the background work that has to happen that you are not interested in doing. You do not want to be your own IT department, but you are.
Yeah, I can't fire the IT department because they're also the speaker.
Right.
It's really irritating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and when I talk about having the joy ratio, that's 35% of your time doing things that you love and you're skilled at, and less than 10% or less percent of your time being things that are toil. That's the part that's hard about being a solopreneur, even though obviously I get to control a lot of what I do, more than what you all get to do at work and or school. I still have so many parts of my things that if I can't pay for somebody else to do it, I still have to figure out how to do it. And so keeping my toil under 10 is a different type of process.
I would say it would be, there's a lot of questions and stuff that I have for this leadership thing. that you're talking about,
Mhm.
but I don't get to ask them because you're writing the book. And then they're gonna be like, "Hey, just read the book." I'll be like, "Well, why don't you just tell me the answers to these questions that I have?"
Do you feel like you couldn't
And
ask?
well, yeah, because you're always writing.
Oh, because I was away.
Yeah, you were very present when the little time that I was home.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta go write, which makes sense. And I was like, oh, well, I didn't get to ask the questions that I wanted to ask, or the
Right.
time wasn't right, the context wasn't right to just ask the question,
Mhm.
and so we were just writing.
What parts of when you're talking about things that I talk about in Joyosity as an overall message, do you see me living out at home?
I mean, I think like you were talking about with the joy ratio, I mean, I know that's a conscious effort at times, but leading with joy and keeping a joy focused mindset is something I do see you living and really embracing.
Well, that's good.
I think that some of the most impactful things that I've seen you live out is when we face really challenging situations, specifically communication challenges with difficult people in the difficulty of our political environment, of the messages that are flying around, and like how do you deal with this? How do you handle this? And where most people would, me included, would just be like, you know what, I think I'm going to ignore that. I'm just not going to deal with that. And where you've engaged, it's not, it doesn't always go well,
Yeah.
and it doesn't always go smoothly. Um, but you engage and you follow through on showing us this is how conflict can happen and actually can result with some good impact on the end.
I mean, I guess like our personal conflict mediation, like I feel like between us, um,
What, you as siblings have conflict?
yeah, shockingly, us as
No.
have conflict,
We don't do
and even us as
We are
parent and
conflict.
child have
The
conflict.
two of
If
you,
you can
and
believe that.
Uh-huh.
But I think
Shocking.
in our conflict disputes, both just because of I'm your son, and so I also am reflecting a lot of these techniques back at you. But it does feel like we're able to really quickly resolve stuff. And so moments like that, I am really grateful that you're not somebody who blows stuff up or holds grudges or lords things over people a lot of the time. Which I know not everybody has as a mom, so I'm really grateful.
Oh, my thanks.
yeah,
Over the last few years, you hearing me talk about the different parts of the Joy Compass, about the Enneagram, about conflict, about the stories we tell ourselves, about experiences and play, and all of these different components that are components of cultivating joy. Did anything change about the way you understand any of those things in this process?
I think that there was, I don't know if it like changed a lot for me as somebody who naturally does tend to embrace play. But while you were doing a lot of like research, especially on play, I thought there were a lot of interesting conversations about the importance of play for creativity, but also for like social cohesion and coherence, and like both in constructive cooperative play and more individualized forms.
I apply all the leadership lessons that you've taught over time. I mean, like all of them apply. Almost every newsletter's got something in it like, "Ooh, that's fitting for a situation I'm in or for something that I'm working through." But as somebody who manages teams and that sort of thing, it's so much more practical.
Right. Yeah, don't talk about it as much as a early adult.
Right.
How do you deal with your roommate situation, even though it's the same concept?
Even though the lessons are applicable.
Well, no, it's like Stuart and I've had conversations about how you dealt with campers this summer
Mhm.
and how you managed your staff
Yes.
and how you work on roommate things. And it's the same. You're saying things that are very similar to the things I say. It's the same principle with different vocabulary.
Sabrina, how many times while you were doing something on campus or in your speech class, you were like, "Oh, I am my mother," and like, "Oh, it's."
So many times. Definitely. Oh my gosh, definitely in speech class this semester. I'm like, oh, I understand Jed Whitmer. Got it. Okay, cool. It worked out real well for me. I won that contest. Yeah, what contest did you win? I won the speech contest at my school. Biggest thing that I've like watched or that I think I've started to realize as throughout the past couple of years is, especially since coming to college, was the importance of good leadership and why that makes such a difference in how communities function. I think I've been a part of a couple different communities, and I think that there are some where the leadership is really strong, like in TT, where it's really, really great, and why that group runs so well and functions so well, and watching how when joy is at the center of it, why it works so well, and then others in the theater company that I'm a part of that is doesn't function poorly, but joy is not necessarily at the center, and we don't always have the best leaders because we're students and we're all learning. Naturally, that can be some of like a more challenging um environment at times, and so kind of understanding why having a good joyful leader is so important, and having and being able to recognize the patterns in people, specifically in theater, that I've noticed of just like, oh, that's not my most favorite quality of a good leader, and here's why that doesn't work, and watching it not work, and then being like, what if we try this, and then that working, and being like, so that's what I'm saying.
Was there a moment when you wished I wouldn't be writing this book or take another speaking gig? What has been hard about this?
I feel like I haven't ever got like really in the whole process of you writing this book. I've not actually you haven't told me what Joyosity is,
Oh,
and so I don't actually know. And you've like talked about it with other people.
uh-huh.
I've not actually had the like we haven't actually sat down and talked about what
We
it
need
means.
to
Really
sign up for a coaching session.
yeah. When I'm home, I wish I could have. You could have told. We could have had more conversations about the book
Yeah.
instead of having dinner all together and you talking about the book. You're gonna write 3 more paragraphs, and by that time dinner's
Yeah.
over, and then
Yeah.
yeah. So that's been pretty difficult.
Yeah.
I think that it was hard to watch you be uh, hard on yourself at times. To be discouraged was really difficult when you got discouraged.
Mm.
About is this worth it? Is this too much? Is it too little? Is it all of those kind of things? And to just kind of walk through that with you as you were when it was really challenging, when you're trying to figure out. It wasn't so much that you were trying to figure out is this worth it or not, but it's like pushing through the hard part
Mm.
and walking through the hard part of like, is this worth it or not? And I mean, I think that was really challenging, hard to do, to be there with you. Um, wouldn't trade it for the world, but it was, it wasn't easy.
Yeah. One of the things that any type of creative process, even if it's a project that's coding, like there's a moment where this is terrible, this is crap, I want to start all over. That's part of every creative process, and I always want to skip that step.
Right.
Please.
Yes.
But it is, even knowing that it's coming, that helps, but it doesn't always change you can't, I want to avoid the emotion of disappointment and discouragement, and I really can't.
Yeah.
And that's,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that.
I mean, I think just, as I've gone through my own struggles this year, just having moments where it's like, yeah, you got your own problems.
No.
And that's just life. And it's not that I ever felt like I couldn't have talked to you about stuff. And, there were moments where I did. And I am so grateful for everything, for all the grace and the advice that you guys have given me. But definitely moments where it's like, yeah, you you don't need this on your plate, and I can handle it.
Mm,
And so yeah, over the moments over, a couple years that stuff like that's bound to happen. But
yeah.
and not for a second have I wished you weren't writing the book. Like this is such a huge undertaking that is a real um concrete distillment of a lot of work that you've done over the last decade plus for sure. And to see it come together like this has been really cool. So
Yeah.
like, that said.
It is hard though that I did not like being less available.
Mhm.
I didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and how much I loathe the idea of seasons, even though it's very true. Um, Reminding myself that it is for a moment in time that it wasn't complete unavailability, but less available, I still found that really hard. What made you proud about this during this time? Either the way you handled something because I was unavailable, or something that we did together or I did. What's something that made you proud that was connected to this?
I can definitely say I'm pretty proud that I can tell all my professors about this cool book that you are writing. Even though I have no idea what it is. But they're like, it's like something about how do you have joy in the workplace and how do you make sure the basis is around joy. And they're like, oh, that'd probably be a good book I would want to read. I'd be like, well, let me tell you, you can write a review. Buy the book and write a review on Tuesday.
Well, you do have the core concept of the book.
Yes. And so like getting to share that with people and be like, that's something I would read, and being like, I have this resource that is a mother that I can go to and hear all this information, and that people are like, I want some of that, and be like, I have that, which is pretty cool. So I'm pretty proud of that.
I think along those lines, being able to when, especially during summer staff and TT, and people being like, you're a sophomore and you're really good at this, and I'm like, let me show you my mother. Let me just, and they're like, oh, I get it. I'm like, great. And so I think,
and you did that yourself too.
well, yes, but you helped a lot. Most of the work. I think that being able to just say that you are my mom is such a cool thing. It makes me really, really proud. But I think that especially in that club and that environment where it is so important to be a good leader and being able to use skills that you have taught me, and being able to share that with other people, and especially I was sitting and talking with Ryan and Caroline, who are my bosses, or were my bosses over the summer, and being like, yes, my mom is writing a book. It's on joy, and you probably should. This would be a great book to read. It is, I believe, on par with Unleashing Hospitality. Like, it's a great book. You should look into it. And just being able to promote the book and you in a way that I wasn't just hyping you up, or if I feel like being phony in any way. I was like, no, this is just genuinely the truth and how I feel about it. Like, this is a really, really cool thing that she's doing, and it is good. And I'm not like just saying this because you're my mom. I would say this like if it was just like this is something that this is information that everyone should read and should have, because it is one of the reasons that why I am a good leader, and I think that other people should read it because it will help them become better leaders. So.
Oh, thank you. You remember that old Instagram reel that was like, hey, the 5 or 6 of you who watch my stories, I'm going to the gas station. Do you need anything? I just feel like Sabrina's one of those. Feel like you're always sharing my stuff, which I appreciate.
Me and Madeline.
Yes, that's true.
Madeline, I'm like whoever's biggest fan.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I definitely felt when the first books arrived.
That
It's pretty cool.
was pretty cool.
It's like a real physical
Mm-hmm.
thing that's not just like your online niche, I suppose. I don't really see you talk and stuff like that, but it's like this is like a physical thing that I could see and share. So that's pretty cool. And also, I will say I think it looked a lot better than some of the other books that we looked at.
Oh yes, because you had to do recognizance at Barnes and Noble for me.
We all look for book covers,
Yeah, even at Barnes and Noble, it looks a lot better than some of those books.
Yeah.
I would judge that book by its cover. It's a good book cover.
I'm telling you, Catherine did a great job on the cover.
I think similarly, when the first books got here, for sure. Also, when I went in to record my little audiobook snippet.
That's true. Chase has an audiobook cameo.
Yeah, just getting there on the day and just the whole production being so professional and being like, yeah, you're recording an audiobook. Like,
This is how it goes.
a full shindig. This is the level of production that is needed. I was like, just sit on a couch, Jen will be right with you. We're just recording one more.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And so
They're
like,
just
she's
that,
my mom.
like, she's my mom. I'm
Do
sorry.
you know who I am?
No, I needed a VIP pass.
I'm always proud of you for 1,000 things. But one thing that stands out to me most recently is having a particularly difficult day. I was working with some things at work that just were frustrating. And I went for my walk like I normally do. And I was reading your newsletter, and you were doing the breathing techniques.
Oh, yeah.
And so you had the video on it. So I read the newsletter, and I did the breathing techniques. And when I came back home, we were both eating lunch or something like that. And I was telling you, I was like, those really work. Like, not that I think I was surprised that you were, but like, wow, this really helped me in the moment that I needed the help, because I was really having a challenging time with these conversations, blah blah blah. But doing the breathing techniques in this moment, in this way, it was like just something that was very practical. And I mean, it was like, that's really worth it. Other people need to know this. Like, this is really going to help them.
I think that's what's so hard for me, because I think you think of me more highly than you ought often. So I think it's funny when, I mean, because you've been telling me to write a book, I think, since we were 18.
Right.
And I'm like, no, don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I guess it just took
Took
me
you a while.
took me a while to listen to you. So I'm glad that it helps you, because
Yeah.
it does help people for something that's so simple. A lot of the things, that's what I worry about. People are like, this is so simple. Have you
Yeah.
tried it?
Why do we
No.
miss the simple things? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Mhm.
not complicated. But
We are. We are. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so I've asked you a lot of questions. Now it's your turn. What questions do you have for me about either the book, writing the book, publishing process?
Is there anything we did that specifically annoyed you?
In general, or
Now we'll refer to the list.
Right. This would have been the opportunity to be like,
process.
what impresses you about me?
I don't know if there's anything in particular that was like during this time that was annoying. I think
Or increased friction.
I think increased friction was definitely my lack of flexibility. Like, I could usually be more flexible around things, and I just couldn't as much. So it wasn't really annoying that you were annoying.
Mm-hmm.
It was that
That I was annoying right then.
I mean, maybe.
How would you describe this process in one word?
I don't like the one word questions.
Well,
How would I describe this in one word or phrase?
Good question.
I think, well, the word Chase used earlier really caught me, which is funny. Distilling. It,
locomotive.
also,
I like locomotive, but distillation I think is also.
oh yeah, so it was distilling. Similar to what Stuart said, like, this has been a long process. I think one of the quotes that I love, that I mess up every time, I really should actually memorize it, is Francis Bacon talks about how rhetoric does this one thing, and reading does this other thing, but writing makes you exact. And I think that process of having to write this down and knowing that I can't change it once it's out there is daunting and humbling, but it forces distilling. And I probably could have done more, like, to make it even more tight and things like that. But
you also could have written a second book, so like
I kind of did. So yeah, there's that. I think that distilling, which is not easy, but worth it. So I think distilling is my final answer.
There's a lot of extra context.
Is that new?
No, not new at all.
That's why she wrote 2 books.
So on the topic of 2 books,
Mm.
is there things that you didn't get to write in this book that you're like, I feel like I could, is there a next step? Like, is there going to be a season of not doing much and you're just going and speaking, and then there will be do you already have an idea of what's a second book? maybe what our second topic you would want to write about, or is it the next season is you're just gonna go speak book?
It's always percolating. Like there's always ideas happening. But the next season, immediately following this, is definitely some rest and some time of rest. And because speaking is not stressful for me, it's the harder part is all of the details around getting a speaking gig. Like getting the gig is the harder part than doing the thing.
Yeah.
So I think just that season of rest and making sure that speaking is happening, and I have to continue to promote the book, like that has to happen. But after that, so if I back up, when I think about my first concept of the book, I realized I was trying to write 2 books at one time. And that was, how do you be a leader who has intense happiness or joy at work, even if things are what they are? And then how do you help your team develop a culture where joy is at the center of everything? And how do you then manage and lead people? Those are actually 2 different. It's too much to do in one time. You cannot manage your team and develop a joyful culture if you do not cultivate intense happiness and joy for yourself. So that is why it just became, you have to go first. Like you can't lead anybody else where you're not willing to go, including me. I can't tell people, there's nothing in this book that I haven't had to do myself. The stories are from tons of other different people. They're not all my stories, but so I still have to be able to be willing to do the work to cultivate joy. So the next book is more about, well, then how do you do this on a team? What does this look like in the complicated interpersonal relationships on a team, or as you're building a culture? What do you do? I think that is one thing I've talked a lot about because I do a lot of work with teams. So I've already done some of that work again. Like some of these stories all come from work I've done. So that's one idea. The other idea I've thought about, because I had to cut so much, I had to cut so many things. There's a few of them just like, but that story's so good. I think the next book it could be also more focused in a series of short books by each Enneagram type.
Okay.
So that, how do you cultivate joy for 8s, for 9s, 1s, 2s, 3s, 4, like how do you do that? And so it would be a shorter 100-page little, or 200-page small paperback, or I don't know. I'd like, that's the other idea that somebody, because like you really loved that. Oh my gosh, Hunter, I can't think of his last name, who wrote 40 Days of Being a Two. And it's a short, small little hardback. So something like that. Those are the ideas that I have. But the next season is rest and talk about this book for a while. Yeah.
Going back to how much stuff got cut, what is one story that you really wish could have gotten included, or like one of the last ones that end up on the cutting room floor?
Oh my gosh, I've done so much editing, it's hard to remember. I have an entire Google Doc I call the Joyosity Phrase Garden that is just piles of phrases I had to cut that might not be the full story, but it like part of the story. I told this really great story about Annalise that I still told, but I had to shorten it significantly, and it was I'm not going to tell the full story, but basically, Annalise is playing blocks. You were like 2 or 3. And in our old house, you remember, and in our old house with the big open on Dumbarton with that big open thing, and I wasn't working that day, and so Annalise is playing blocks. I'm in the kitchen, and all 3 of you come in like, elbows and backpacks and shoes are flying, and all of her blocks just scatter everywhere, and she just kind of is like, touches this block and stands up and goes, "Oh, my room, calm down." She took this giant breath and went to her room, and she just
Better at emotionally regulating than all of us.
exactly. I was like,
Preston.
breathing really works. And it was a much longer story in the book because Sabrina, of course, was super concerned about her and like goes to the door of her room and then looks at me like, do I go in? Do I do something? Like she's like, what am I supposed to do here? And I don't know what you boys were doing. I finally was like, and so she comes back out, y'all. Everybody helps clean up the blocks, and I mean, but there are a few stories like that I had to cut. There's a great Ted Lasso story that I had to cut about a lesson that Jamie Tart learns that was a great illustration, but didn't quite prove the point in the best way. So it's hard to go back because it's still like, oh my gosh, there were so many literal tens of thousands of words that were cut.
How many words is the book?
I think without the citations, because there are a lot of citations, like 300 some citations, I think it came in at 71,000 words, 72, somewhere in there. Yeah.
So if you were to describe Joyosity in like 70,000-ish words.
Yeah. You say.
I can.
Bring us the basket again.
Where's the basket again? Oh my gosh. Yeah.
How come the Y of the joy balloons is deflated?
So, one of the stories I tell in the book is actually about you, dear, and your deep love of balloons, which is impossible. Like, I tried to use some of the words that got cut, just you describing you loving balloons so much because it's impossible
Right.
to communicate.
Not enough words.
It's not enough words. And I talk about this story in the book about you loving balloons and an event that happened where even the balloons weren't enough to make a joyful event. Like, it was a terrible ending. And life happens. Life pops your balloon. And joy can't be just a balloon that will float away, that pops, that deflates, or like cotton candy that melts on your tongue and it's gone. And that's often what we think of as joy. So while joy is fun and inflatable, there is a way to have joy even if you feel deflated, even if there is life, even if things are what they are. And so much of life we cannot control, which is really inconvenient, right? And so that's why that it's symbolizing this idea that sometimes your balloon's deflated and you can still have joy. That's why the Y is deflated. I still don't like it.
Still don't like it, but
I mean, I don't either, but the
I
concept.
like the idea of a deflated balloon in general. So
exactly. So I don't like the idea
like
of a
an
deflated
equal
balloon.
this one.
You're like,
That's the point.
"Can you not put what is the stuff in it? They
Yeah.
put there's
The high float and yeah.
there's extra stuff.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Loves balloons.
Thanks.
What do you hope people feel when they read Joyosity? What do you hope that they get out of that?
Joyful.
Joyful.
Yeah.
So on the nose.
Took the worst.
I had to get it out there.
Yeah, you did. Otherwise, you're getting locomotive.
Somebody else could have said anything faster. I hope they do get a deep sense of the philosophy of importance of joy as a deep center that like to say has deep roots that are formed in the dark. But that has deep roots and is a center also that can be grown from, that a tree can blossom or something can bloom forth from. It's really important, and I hope people learn that.
I know that people will walk away with hope. Some hope that it doesn't have to always be this way. That we're so used to the work environment being, or just like, well, this is just how every office is. It doesn't have to be.
I also agree with hope. Also having the like playbook in a lot of things, being like, this is how you can do it for yourself. Like, this, helps you leave with like lasting hope. Also, not just like, oh, that's good, and then you like put it down and then it's gone. It's like something that you can apply.
Yes, I hope that too. If we had a collective tagline for this book writing year, in the year of 2025, what tagline would you add to our family for this year? It's been quite a year for all of us.
But we didn't run, we didn't go to Denver.
I didn't run, and I'm not going to Denver.
Nobody else says anything in 2 minutes. I'm gonna say locomotive.
Well, now you've already said it.
Yep.
What was it? What were you gonna say about? Sound like you had something?
I have nothing. I would have to chat GPT that up.
No collective tagline.
Probably something about chaos and insanity, but also like because we're Whitmers and that's what we do. So I don't know. Something make that a tagline.
It's not a snappy tagline.
You didn't ask for that. You just asked.
That's what ChatGPT is for.
Pump it up.
I gave it the keywords, and it just makes something.
One of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast with y'all is because it's easy, because my name is the only one that's on the book, to think that I'm the only one that did any work for this, and it's not true. You all contributed stories, by just living your lives with me. Aren't you so glad? But you also contributed in so many other ways to my own ability to do this, that it is really a collective effort. And while it's just my name on the book, writing a book is not a solo activity. And so when people ask me, how did you do that? And I was like, okay, so let me start with Michael Whitmer. And like, here's how this goes. And that you all are a part of this as much, because it doesn't happen on my own without you all sacrificing some things too, which is part of what we've talked about. So, well,
Should I get the cat?
sure, you can get the cat, since he is listed in the bio
He looks
with his
comfy.
limbs akimbo. There you are,
He's like,
uninterested.
Like, well, I could sleep here too.
Well, thank you all.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Great job.
You're welcome. Yeah. Congratulations.
What you just heard is proof that leadership and your career in general doesn't stay at the office. It comes home with you. It bumps into your people. I mean, and goodness, do they keep me grounded and humble? And it asks you to grow in places that really you probably rather ignore sometimes. But that's also where joy is so tangible, in the real, unfiltered moments with the people who know you best. So, as you take away from the podcast, I always like to stick my coach hat on. I want you to ask yourself, what is one small way that you can practice consistency? The same on stage, same at home kind, the kind that really builds joy and alignment instead of draining it. What's one move that would bring those two versions of yourself closer together? Share this episode with someone who needs the reminder that leadership is a whole life group sport. And if you haven't gotten the book yet, grab Joyosity and the Joyosity Works playbook at jenwhitmer.com/books. And if you want more help, I would love to talk to you. Please connect with me. Send me an email with Jen at 2ns@jenwhitmer.com. LinkedIn, Instagram is where I play the most. And we'll be back with more episodes to help you create positive culture with complex people, those you work with and those that you live with, so you have a life of joy.